So for this one, I've decided what I wanted to do is I don't think I've shown off this process that I did. So I've had like Dark Souls kind of set up in Lutris here, and the way it's set up is kind of interesting because I don't really have a direct install for it per se. So it's basically a bunch of loose files kind of hanging out here. And I've got it set up so that it actually runs in Lutris. And I don't think anybody's really explained how to do this. Because, like, I can sit here, click play, and it should come up eventually. So, yeah, you can see it comes up just fine, basically. Come on, skip. So, this process I'm gonna apply to basically, running. I'm gonna set up another game kind of in the same process because there have actually been a couple games that I've done this with, like Dawn of Warhammer 40k Dawn of War is one, and then like Extreme Paint Brawl 4 in Lutris. Some of these don't run too well currently because of the situation they're in, but most of the stuff is like going to be pretty simple because they've got a full set of scripts for most of the really popular games. It's just some of these ones that like maybe you just have the binary that you got or like a package or whatever, or it's an unknown one. So this is a process you can use to kind of like set it up. Basically transferring what's already been expanded and going. So the first thing that I want to do to kind of make it nice is I'm actually going to make a directory for it. So it's going to be Bloodborne PSX is what I'm going to call it because that's what I'm setting up. Is basically the Bloodborne PSX style fan game that someone made. And so I can. Oh, wait, no. Okay. So I can go over here. I've copied it from one window or cut it from one window and brought it over because LF is cool like that. But so now I've got my folder and then I've got another directory for it as well. So this is where my game is going to sit. And this is kind of how I've set up Dark Souls basically too. And so I'll make another one in here. Born wine. If I can spell wine correctly. So this is going to be my basic skeleton for the game that I'm working with. So now what I do is I can go in Lutris and hit the add game here. And it's got wine is the one that it's running because that was the last one that I had set up basically manually. So I can go Bloodborne, if I can spell blood and born correctly, PSX. And then I think 2022 or 2021 is the closest one that we're going to get. So what we do is we'll go and browse for the executable file. It's going to be in here, Bloodborne PSX, psx.exe. So that's going to be our game file. And what I found is helpful is making sure that you have your working directory in the game directory. So like Dark Souls kind of I had to do that, go to the data directory and run it that way. And most of the games that like automatically set up, I've had to do that as it is. So this is kind of one of those safety measures to make sure everything works correctly because some games won't find the data files if you don't have the working directory set up as the directory where the executable is or whatever. Or if you need to change it to like some data directory, it will kind of break itself. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to set the wine prefix to that Bloodborne wine directory as well. And I'm going to manually look for it like a troglodyte, because that's the way we're just going to do it. Okay, so now I've got the wine prefix set up, Bloodborne PSX is set up. So what I did for Dark Souls is I had the FS hack version of wine up. So I don't have a custom wine executable or anything. Oh. So it should, like, the first time I run it, set up wine by default. But, okay, system options. Everything. Optimus. Okay, so we've got discrete graphics turned on and things like that. We can set up for gamepad mapping, but what I've found is SC controller works pretty well if you're using like some other controller. You can run a program like SC controller, which I've talked about previously in another video, to map your controller to it. It has a pretty good default gamepad mapping already, so you can add that in and you can play whatever it is here with your controller, or if you've got an Xbox controller from the get-go, it should automatically work with the kernel. So let's see, let me double check that we've got we'll run the wine configuration, and it's got to set up wine for the first time. So it'll set up our prefix there with the FS hack version of wine, the Lutris FS hack version of wine. So we can do full screen hacks in case the resolution doesn't go high enough, which, if I remember correctly from my younger brother playing around with it, it does actually go up to 1080p, so it should be fine. But yeah. Windows 10 should be fine for our Windows version because it's a pretty recent fan game. So when we hit play, give it a second. Okay. Okay. So it was just an error in like the opening screen there with the way the full screen was set up. So you can see that we've got everything running, it looks like, just fine. So we'll go into new game.
Oh, yes. Pale blood. Well, you've come to the right place. Yarnum is the home of blood ministration.
Gonna plug in my other keyboard real quick.
Unravel its mystery. But where's an outsider like yourself to begin? Easy, with a bit of Yarnum blood of your own. But first,
Not very many presets, but yeah. So it seems to actually work just fine. So Okay, come on. Let's skip this. So, I mean, it honestly seems to be working
Whatever
okay.
happens, you may think it all.
Not like it's kind of down to a choppy frame rate as it is. So, like, so yeah, there we are. So, a lot of this. So, a lot of this may not be as easy as, oh, this was. Sometimes you may have to tweak things occasionally. So sometimes what you may need to do is, oh, play with the wine version, pick a different one or whatever. But for the most part, I think a good number of wine versions actually work pretty well. So yeah. Let me find. So yeah, it's pretty chunky, but yeah, that's how you can set up your own like games. It'll vary differently, but I picked the wine one because that's basically the one that like a lot of people may have interest in, and it's a pretty simple process that may require some like fiddling around with settings here and there. But if you found this helpful, leave a comment. If you've got like any other questions that may be, comment. It helps, not only helps the algorithm, but it lets me know where there may be some holes that I left out here and there, and then I can like address it later on down the road. So yeah, hopefully this helps you get more stuff set up if you are in that market or that kind of a thing. And I will see you guys later.